feel love, oh yes, my Lord, because there's some of them are lessons, some of shit. Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And this is Blooming. Okay, so today's video is going to be all about love, all things love. So first of all, I am a huge romantic and I live for love. I love love, I love loving, I love seeing love, I love to be loved. So this is a really cool topic to be talking about today. So today I'm just going to be talking about the 10 takeaways that I have had from my past relationships. So hi guys, sorry to interrupt your video. Editor Sino here. So I decided to not make it 10 anymore, but 5, because 10 just had the video too long. But anyway, let's get back to the video. Some of them are lessons, some of them are just observations, but or just experiences, you know. But anyways, let's get started. So number 1 on the list is feelings of shame around dating, especially if your dating life is healthy. So if you are an African girl, then you've probably had this experience where the worst thing that an older person could say to you, literally the worst thing that they can say to you as a girl, is "Bayo, tana makwe, kayo, tana bafan." I mean, I used to be so afraid of being labeled as that because then you are loose or you're a slut. The biggest part is that you lose your worth. That's what it is. Your worth as a girl is so tied to that. Because I grew up with that, it's still at the back of my mind. And as you count your exes or the people that you dated and all that jazz, you're like, am I approaching the mark of you're doing too much, sis? When the reality of the situation is that it's okay to date. It's okay to date different people, multi-date if you're multi-dating, be in relationships. Some of them will end, and that's okay. It's part of growing and learning. And yeah, my intellect, the frontal lobe, the reasoning part of my brain knows that, but then that part that harbors emotions and triggering sometimes triggers itself when it comes to that. So that's something I'm still working on, but hey, we'll get through this. Number 2 on the list is, excuse my French, ne? It is giving love a chance versus fucking yourself over. So this one is definitely I don't know if I've learned this lesson in the process of learning it, but because I believe so much in the power of love, and I have this very idealistic view of love and healing, and that you can love someone into wanting to heal themselves and grow, and sometimes that just ain't it. Or this whole thing of me of seeing potential a lot in people, I'm starting to learn that there's a difference between, okay, you know what, I'm giving love a chance, I'm opening myself up to love, because that's also one of the things that I always want to do and keep, that I want to remain open to love. I don't want to be this person with 1,000 walls up, and I'm my heart so hardened that I find it really hard to give love a chance. I always want to be open to love, but then it's but are you effing yourself over though? Because you can't bank on just potential. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so do with that what you want. So this one is definitely a lesson that I've learned, not only in romantic relationships but also in my relationship with Anati. Please don't be alarmed, I will reference my relationship with Anati a lot in this episode, because anyways, this one is basically having and rehaving multiple of times the exact same conversation. That is not a bad thing. I used to think that in a relationship you guys discuss things once or twice and that should be enough, and that issue is solved, and that if you guys keep coming back at it, then that's toxic energy. But actually it's not. I've learned that sometimes First of all, sometimes you're not sure how to articulate what you're feeling. Only the fourth time around do you now know how to communicate your feelings. And then sometimes it takes time for a person to hear what you're saying, because sometimes you are defensively listening instead of actually listening. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, and sometimes it takes repeating that conversation over and over for it to get to a point where you guys are really on the same page on the issue. And yeah, this has happened a lot in past relationships, but it's also happened a lot with Anatii. And that's where I appreciate it the most, because I see how far we have come in understanding each other, in learning to communicate with each other, in learning to love each other, in learning how to be there for each other. And that has been through having the same conversation over and over. So yeah, think about that. This one is definitely one of the most interesting ones. And I think I actually read about this when I was reading. No, I think I read it from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think also What Happened to You speaks about this. But basically that we hear things or see things as well through our own lenses and our own experiences. And this is actually such a huge thing in relationships, because you may not be communicating what you think you're communicating. And I've seen it happen so many times. Like 3 major examples of not communicating what you think you're communicating. I would say firstly with the crying issue. Okay, so with the crying issue, I cry because I'm a crier. I'm a huge crier. I cry every time I feel something. So I cry literally because I feel. And crying for me means that I'm remaining open and I'm remaining soft. Anytime that I've caught myself trying to stop myself from crying, it meant walls up. It meant turning the hard feeling like pain and hurt and fear, turning it into rage and anger and all those things. That's what that is for me. But then for someone who's not a crier like Anatii, she thinks that crying is manipulative, because she thinks that when you cry, you influencing how the next person will continue being in that conversation, especially if you're having a serious conversation. She feels like you should be able to get through the conversation without crying, because crying is being inconsiderate of the other person who now has to not only worry about their own feelings in the conversation, now they have to worry about yours. So that one is also like, because that's definitely not what's happening. That's not what I'm trying to communicate. Do you know what I mean? And then another one is the fight language thingamabob. Someone else really feels like they need space and time to think and reflect before they act and say or deal with the situation. But someone else may actually view that as abandoning, may view that as running away and not wanting to work on the situation, may view that as unfair, because now we have to sit in the uncomfortableness of the situation because you are not trying to address it right now. You see what I mean? So like, if you are people of opposites like that, asking for some time may come across to the person as something completely different than what you were trying to go for. And another big one is asking further questions. So let me explain. So I'm a curious and inquisitive person, and when I'm trying, or when I am getting to know you, I will ask questions. I will ask follow-up questions because I'm curious and I want to know you. Do you know what I mean? And I'm interested in how you are feeling and what you're thinking and all of that jazz. And then you have people that don't ask, like Anatii. And they say they don't ask because they would rather you open when and if you want to, not because they have prompted you. So they feel like asking and following up is more of an imposition than it is, you know, a cute thing. And then to someone like me, when you don't ask me about myself and you don't follow up with questions, I see that as you're not interested in knowing me and you don't care enough to want to find out how a certain something has affected me or how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. That's what it feels like. And then it causes me to shut down and close down because I'm like, I'm not wanted here. You don't care and I'm not wanted here, because if you cared, you would ask. And then you have someone like Anatii who's like, for me, that's respect. For me, that's respecting your boundaries. I don't ask because what if you're not ready to go there, you know? But like, I've realized from my dating experiences that there are people who are just like Anati who annoy the crap out of me because I'm like, why is she wanting me? But yeah, that's just some of the ways that what you communicate isn't necessarily what's received. And I've tried to get into the habit of asking the person, especially when I'm unsure and when I feel a little bit, tad bit confused and offended by whatever they're saying. I will ask, what are you trying to communicate with this comment or this statement? You know what I mean? Because sometimes a statement can go either way. Like this ex of mine once said, what did he say? He said, after you, I'm never going to give a real relationship a chance, right? And then I was like, what do you want me to take from that? What are you hoping you are saying to me? And then he's like, what do you mean? I'm saying exactly that. And I'm like, I have a feeling you're trying to say something else, and right now you're leaving it up to chance for me to interpret what you are saying. Because what I'm hearing is that this whole relationship thing, serious girlfriend thing, monogamy thing is a lot of work, and it's tiring and it's exhausting, and I do not ever want to find myself in this situation again. And then it's like, that is not what I was communicating. So I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to communicate? And then he said, I was trying to tell you that I was hoping that from that statement you'd get that I'm giving this my absolute all, so much so that I couldn't handle having to start over with someone else or having to do this with anybody else. Then I was like, oh, okay. But also, once again, you sometimes you're not communicating what you think you're communicating, because we're so different as people and we hear things based on, and at that point the reason why I heard it that way was because I was feeling insecure in the relationship, and so obviously that's what I heard. Let's once again. So that's something that I am now a lot more mindful of in a relationship and when communicating. Just to ask and re-ask, what are you saying exactly? Number 5, relationships are a mirror or a magnifier, and especially romantic relationships. This one I've heard so many times from like married people. They'll say this a lot. But like I've also experienced it in my own relationships. Listen, as a single hun, as a single girl, I am good. I'm happy. Like I have no problem. I have no issues. I have no triggers, no traumas. What are you talking about? And then I get into a relationship, and then I'm like, that thing that I thought actually. So being in a relationship can be a tad bit triggering. Your traumas come up, and the thing is, unlike when you're single, in a relationship, your healing process, or when it is that you decide to face your demons, is not as relaxed as when you're single, because now your traumas or your unhealed self affects someone else. It's not just about you. And I think and that's it. Personally, for me, that's one of the biggest beauties, or the most beautiful thing, or one of the joys really of being in a relationship. It's that it accelerates my growth. I love that. It's uncomfortable, it's scary, but I love that whole idea of it accelerates my growth, but also in a place that is conducive to my healing and growth. So but like that's not true for everybody. Other people feel like it's a tad bit much. And some relationships don't survive that necessarily. This one has to do with regret. Regretting the person that you chose, regretting entering the relationship, regretting allowing yourself to open up so much and to love that person so much. I always say this after a relationship ends in my tears, and I'm sad. I'm like, but you know what? I will never regret choosing love. Never. I'll say whatever you. I think I once saw, I don't know where I saw it, but it was years back. It said that there's no such thing as love wasted. There's no such thing as love wasted. And that's the mentality that I usually have when the relationship ends, regardless of how it ended or why it ended. It's just there's never a waste. There's no such thing as a waste of love. So I will never regret choosing love. I will never regret choosing to love. Also because, like, yeah, I'm a lover, like I said at the beginning of the video. I am a lover. I believe so much in love. And the world that we currently live in is always trying to chip away at that belief of love. Not just in a romantic sense, but love in general. That people are kind, people are amazing, people are great, and people are love. And yeah, it's so hard to continue to believe in that because of all the things that you'll be hearing and seeing. So what I always tell myself is that regardless of what happened in the relationship, I know that I loved that person and I loved them in the best way that I know how to, and that's never a waste and that's never wrong. That's basically what I leave with you guys. Never regret choosing love. Guys, if you like this kind of video and this kind of content, please give me a like and also comment down below. I'd love to hear from y'all, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber.